Freedom Global News.
President Muhammadu Buhari sends Executive Order 11 on national public building maintenance. 98,000 Nigerians to benefit from federal government's interest-free loan. Court orders federal government to comply with 35% affirmative action for women. Good evening, you listen to Freedom Global News on 99.5 FM. I am Hawa Adamikiawa. Today is the 6th of April 2022, which is equivalent to the 5th of Ramadan 1443 after Hijri. Now the news in full. President Muhammadu Buhari has assented to Executive Order 11 on national public buildings maintenance. The signing of the document preceded the weekly Federal Executive Council held today at the Council Chambers of the State House in Abuja. In his remarks shortly before appending his signature, President Buhari directed all ministries, departments and agencies of government to set up maintenance departments in line with the provisions of the new executive order. The President presided over the council meeting attended by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa. Others present were the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemi Eshan. Ministers in attendance included Lai Mohammed of Information and Culture, Zainab Ahmed of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Baba Tunde Fashola of Works and Housing, Ogbonaya Onu of Science and Technology, Pauline Talon of Women Affairs, and Suleiman Adamu of Water Resources. Also present were Hadi Sirika of Aviation, Isa Pantami of Communications and Digital Economy, Chukwemeka Unwa Juba of State for Education, and Muhammad Abdullahi of Science and Technology, among others. The federal government says it has concluded plans to give interest-free loans to 98,000 program JEEP 2.0 nationwide. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, disclosed this in a statement by Inenna Alibezi, her special assistant, on media in Abuja today. The minister said that this decision was reached following the final verification of Phase 1 application from small loans ranging from 50,000 naira to 300,000 naira. She further said that all the beneficiaries of JEEP 2.0 would receive congratulatory and sensitization text messages in the coming days informing them of their qualification. According to Umar Farouk, the money given to the beneficiaries of the empowerment program is a loan and not a grant and must be repaid within. Detected fake letters of employment to its verification committee. The head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemi Eshan, revealed this at the National Policy Dialogue on Entrenching Transparency in Public Office Recruitment in Nigeria, organized by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission in Abuja. Yemi Eshan said the federal government has suspended the salary of 3,000 civil servants who failed to present themselves for verification. She said the verification exercise is to eradicate fake illegal recruitment in government agencies. Another sporting arena. The federal government has inaugurated the main organizing committee for a successful hosting of the 21st National Sports Festival, scheduled to hold in November 2022 in Asaba, Delta State. Correspondent Mama Sana Uba has details of this and other sports updates.
Minister of Youth and Sport Development, Sunday Dari, who unveiled the committee in his office in Abuja, said the inauguration was a fallout of the extraordinary National Council of Sport meeting held in Asaba last year and the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between his ministry and the Delta State government, which signified the commencement of hosting the sport festival. Represented by the Permanent Secretary, Ismail Abubakar, the minister acknowledged that the organization of the National Sport Festival is an enormous task that requires commitment and dedication, taking into account that the main organizing committee has barely 7 months to put everything in place for the successful hosting of the games. In another update, the executive committee of the Nigeria Football Federation has mandated one of the federation subcommittees to, within the next 5 days, recommended a new coaching crew for the Super Eagles. This mandate is one of the decisions the committee took at its first formal meeting since Nigerians' failure to qualify for the 2022 FIFA World Cup bid for Qatar. Following the inability to qualify, the NFF has disbanded the Austin Egavon Lake Technical Crew. Emmanuel Amunike, Joseph Yobo, Salis Yusuf, and Aloy Agu were all affected by the order that swept through the national team after Ghana beat Nigeria to the World Cup ticket in Abuja. Meanwhile, the Senate has summoned the Minister of Youth and Sport Development, Sunday Dari, and the President of the Nigeria Football Federation, Amaji Maldekpini, over the Super Eagles' failure to qualify for the Qatar 2022 World Cup. The resolutions were sequel to a point of order raised by Mikel Nachi during today's plenary. The Senate also mandated its Committee on Sport and Youth Development to investigate the remote and immediate causes of the vandalization of Mashid Abiola National Stadium by hoodlums on March 29. And on tennis, Nigerian Kwadiri Aruna gained 2 steps up the world ranking to occupy 12th place in the men's rating following tennis world rankings. Being the first African to reach the top 11 in the world, fetched him massive ranking point to rise from 14th spot to 12th in the latest world rankings. Muhammad Sanuba, Freedom Radio.
The global news is coming to you from Freedom Radio 99.5 FM. You can send your comments, opinions, and watch us live on Freedom Radio Nigeria on Facebook.com. You can get the link to the page on our website, freedomradionig.com. Welcome back. You're still listening to Freedom Global News on 99.5 FM. The Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered the government to comply with 35% affirmative action for women. Delivering judgment today, Justice Donatus Okorowo said the federal government had the obligation to implement the 35% affirmative action, accusing past governments of acting in breach of international treaties on women participation in government. Justice Okorowo added that the national gender policy is not merely a policy statement, but one that must be backed with the requisite action on the part of the government. He said the 35% affirmative action, which entails appointive positions for women to ensure inclusivity, must not be merely on paper, as Nigeria is signatory to international treaties, particularly on those entrenching the rights of women. The Senate has urged the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs to liaise with the Ghanaian government to strengthen bilateral relations between both countries to prevent the maltreatment of Nigerians entering Ghana. This was contained in the recommendations of the Chamber after it considered a report by the Joint Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary Primary Health and Communicable Diseases and Foreign Affairs. The report was on the motion on the urgent need to conduct investigation on the allegation of fake COVID-19 test results being used to defraud Nigerians in Ghana and the obtainment of fake COVID-19 vaccination cards. Chairman of the Joint Committee, Senator Yahya Olorigbe, in his presentation, recalled that the investigation was necessitated by allegations that the Ghanaian authorities diagnosed Nigerians who traveled to their country of testing positive for COVID-19, even after testing negative in Nigeria. He said it was alleged further that Nigerian travelers to the country were committed to isolation for 2 weeks at 70,000 naira equivalent daily, on amount running into millions of naira. He disclosed that investigations showed that Nigerians were possibly exploited at the Ghana International Airport, going by explanations by the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19. According to the lawmaker, the chairman of the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, while appearing before the investigation, rapid AG testing on arrival at the airport compared to the PCR test done in Nigeria. On the allegation, test Results, Boss Mustafa stated that for the purpose of international outbound travels, COVID-19 PCR tests are conducted by accredited laboratories and are verifiable on the Nigerian Center for Disease Control platform through a QR code. Next up, we have Malam Kabir Abdullahi Umar with the Ramadan commentary.
The month of Ramadan is a great school where we learn many lessons. Any person who comes out of this school is expected to be completely refined in his words and actions. A prophetic hadith says, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, frequently gives alms, but manifold his gift in this great month of Ramadan. In another hadith, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, says, God has caused those who come out of Ramadan without doing any worship that could earn them paradise. Many things, including devotion, patience, and time utilization. One of the essence of Ramadan is grooming the faithful to be more devoted, close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instruct and keep away from prohibited actions. We should always increase our good deed by being generous. Remember that once these 10 days are over, gaining reward will not that be easy. Kabir Abdullahi Umar, Global News.
Thank you very much. And on the foreign scene, a military tribunal today ruled that Burkina Faso's former president, Blaise Compaoré, be sentenced to life imprisonment for complicity in the 1987 murder of his predecessor, Thomas Sankara, in a coup. The charismatic Marxist revolutionary Sankara was gunned down in the West African nation's capital, Ouagadougou, at the age of 37, 4 years after he took power in a previous push. Compaoré was charged in absentia along with his former head of security, Hyacinth Kafando, who was also sentenced to life imprisonment. Both have previously denied any involvement in Sankara's death, along with 12 other defendants accused of involvement in the plot, 3 of whom were declared innocent today. And with this, we've come to the end of today's Global News. Stay tuned for the Hausa Bulletin Mulek Amaganu with Medina Shehu Hausawa. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Hawa Adam Kiawa. Have a wonderful evening and a blissful iftar.